Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Dichronicos here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be talking about how to get through the Tree of Probabilities Nightfalls with a decent score line. In this video, we have a 100,000 score line. I'll also be talking about how to get a 60,000 if you're going for the aura, or even an 80,000 if you just want to get a higher score than you did the previous time. As a caveat in this, I would like to mention, technically it was 99k and we did die on the boss on a 33 handicap, but we did finish it with a 34 handicap, which is harder, at 89,000 points, and I'm going to be discussing why there was such a disparagement in points and why it's kind of unfair in this Nightfall for points. And hopefully the fact that it's a harder run that we did finish the boss on will be enough to show that the strategy is still solid. So if you are looking for a 60,000 score line, I recommend anywhere from 15 to 20 handicap. That should assure you pretty easily to be able to get around 60,000. Again, if you're having a little bit of trouble on this, make sure you fully clean out every single area and you're very clean with it before bumping up your handicap, because oftentimes it's better to have a lesser handicap and just do better on what you're doing. If you want an 80,000 score line, I believe we did it on a 25 handicap, and we were able to do it pretty easily because we have been running 25, 30 for quite a while, or quite a few weeks lately. Now, if you're looking to get a 100,000 score, you're gonna need 34 plus, and that's kind of with an asterisk because the fact that at 35, you actually see skulls next to their health, whereas 34 you don't. So as a visual cue, even though there's not much difference between the two, it is still kind of scary to see skulls and not see skulls. So if you're looking for 100,000, anywhere around 34 handicap should be able to accomplish it. And if you're looking for rather guaranteed and you're really good at the game, I'm sure if you did a 45 handicap, you should be able to get through the 100,000 scores easily. So before I explain the Nightfall and all the weapons and stuff, I have to give you a kind of asterisk on this one. It all depends on the Infinite Forest. The Infinite Forest is a set of random blocks that spawn in with random enemies, which all have unnecessarily different amounts of scores. You will not be guaranteed the same score total at the end of each time you go through the Infinite Forest, which is kind of BS, and it kind of just has a random set of probabilities. A good example is a Centurion and a Hydra. I would find that the Centurion is harder to kill, he is more likely to kill me, and he's 800 and something points, nearly 900 points. A Hydra, on the other hand, is 3,400 points. As you can tell, if you get two Hydras spawning on one block, is what we had one time, we had a lot more score, which makes it kind of ironic because Lost Sector is the only way to consistently get the same amount of points each time. So without further ado, the weapons. Pretty much the same complement as last time. Better Devils, Mononon, Warcliffe Coil. Recommend having at least one, and I mean just one, a linear fusion rifle. You might need it at different phases to kind of take out different Colossus and whatnot. If you're looking for a linear fusion rifle and you don't have one, if you've done the Dynasty quest on IO, Asher will sell you a Tarantula for, I think, a 10 legendary shards or something, so go out there and grab one because it's a pretty good weapon. But overall, the Warcliffe Coil is still my favorite thing to use. So as far as subclasses went, we went with Arc Singe with a Smash Titan with Insurmountable Skull Fort to be able to get those faster grenades with the Shoulder Smash. On your second person, you'll have a Hunter with Arc Staff and Radiant Flux. And finally, your Orpheus Rig Tether Hunter on your last one. Obviously, the Tether is for Orb Generation. The other two are for Slaying. Again, make sure you tie together the Tethers with the Smash because the Smash does not have the damage to one-shot any one of the Legionaries unless you're at a very high height. However, the Arc Staff lasts longer and does more damage per hit, which should tell you that it's a better super in general. Of course, the Smash class does have Pulse Grenades, which makes it really nice. Alternatively, you can just switch out the Smash Titan for another Arc Staff or something else. So something I recommend doing before you start your Nightfall is going to be Rally the Flag to get full heavy ammo to start the mission. Now to do this, go to any public event that's before it starts, there's going to be a flag there. Rally that flag by grabbing it, and you should get full super and full heavy and full every ammo. I had no idea this worked, by the way. I totally didn't even notice. But do that, then launch directly into the Nightfall without going to orbit, and you'll start that mission with full ammo and all ammos. You won't have a super, but it will start you with full ammo, which is really nice, because in this mission, there's not a lot of goldies to be able to get a lot of heavy in this one, so it's not going to be a very heavy-dependent mission. But overall, it's nice to start with a lot of heavy so you can nuke the boss at different phases. So starting off in the mission, there's a couple of different points that I would like to recommend you pay attention to. The first section here is going to be a kind of difficult. Recommend just stay back. Don't be a hero. Just shoot them from range. These Legionaries have ridiculous damage and tracking while you're in the air, so be very careful. They can one-shot you, and I'm not kidding. They can one-shot you, and they do every single time. Here's a clip of them and not being fair at all. Priority in this area is going to be those Scorpio turrets. They have the biggest range. Make sure you avoid the rockets from the Colossus, and then just try to kill the enemies from range with your scout rifles. I used a ward cliff on the left section enemies when they group up. You can also ward cliff the Colossus if you get close enough. And of course the Tarantula is very, very nice, or any linear fusion rifle, very nice for the Colossus. I think it might even like 2 or 3 shot him in the head, so that's why you use it. It's really freaking good. Now, once you get into the Infinite Force, it's totally up to you. I recommend using at least 1 super each throughout the Infinite Force. You should have enough super for it. If you find a group of enemies, tether them down and smash them. If you find another group of enemies that's nice, use the staff on them. Overall, just hope and pray that you get a lot of Hydras and you don't get a lot of Centurions or those snipers. In general, just use the regular strategy as you would anywhere else. Take out snipers first, then take out the plebs, and then take out the big health strong enemies last. Once you get to the final block, it's going to be a lot of snipers and legionaries. Take out the snipers first, handle legionaries from range. Do not move in until you feel safe that you can move in and there's no enemies in sight. For the most part, you can afford to leave at least 1 or 2 enemies behind. Just make your way. Try to get through the portal in about 8 minutes. I think we're getting through there around 9 or 10 minutes consistently, but it is possible to get through that portal and get out in 8 minutes. I recommend having all your supers ready by the time you get out of the Infinite Force, or at least having Tether and one of the other Slayer ones. In this area, there'll be a bunch of people fighting. Recommend throwing down a Tether and then sending out one of your super people. An Arc Staff can technically tear out the entire area. It's ridiculous how long that thing lasts with Radiant Flux, and in general how long it lasts. So do a bunch of flippy kicks and make sure you clear it as much as you can. There's going to be another boss that spawns in, or a Centurion more specifically. Again, take out the snipers if you're not the super people, and then just kind of let the super dude take care of everything else. And again, for the most part, make sure you survive. If you're using your super, the orbs on the ground will disappear if you die, so do not go too hard in the paint. Right after that, there's going to be a bunch of enemies fighting on this top block over here. I believe I went up there solo to take care of them because they were fighting each other. That's like 2,000 to 3,000 points right there for you to have, so make sure you go do that. Snipers and whatnot and Colossus on the ground, make sure you take out those guys as well. A second set of Colossus and Legionaries just down the ramp, take those guys out, and then after that, just speed your way through the lasers and get to the final section right before the boss. In this section, is going to be a lot of snipers. Take those guys out first. Secondarily, make sure you focus together on those flamers. They like to hide a lot, and then handle Legionaries as planned. In the final section with the dropship, I recommend using a Tether and a Smash. It is very effective against these enemies if you're using them together, and there's a big old gladiator that comes down. Watch out for him. He should be able to drop heavy ammo right before the boss fight. Overall in this area, just start chucking nades. Maybe use a ward cliff or 2 on the flamers because they're kind of difficult to handle, but for the most part, just handle it as is described, or handle the guys from range. So now you've arrived into the boss section. He's going to have 3 distinct sections that he's going to be in, first, second, and third. In the first and second one, he will run at you and run you down. He's not that fast, but he does walk towards you the whole time. These are going to be the more difficult sections, and in the final one, there's a way to make it so he always stays away from you, and it's going to be a lot easier. In the first section, we decided to nuke him out of it, so just send out your ward cliffs and your pulse grenades until he's gone packing. You'll know if he's packing if the lasers show up. After that, then just take out the Minotaurs and the Vex. If you still have points to get, kill them. If you don't have points to get, then just run past them. After you kill the Minotaur, you should be able to be let through. Very important thing to do in this section is go through as a team. If you don't wait for your team, they'll be forced to join allies, and they may die as they're respawning into the new section. So wait for your teammates and go through the gate at the exact same time, and that should alleviate that problem. This second section is going to be a little harder because there is less cover for you to have, and the ads spawn in the back section where there is cover. I recommend not being in the back section as much as you can because, again, the ads will surprise you and murder you very quickly. In this section, we just kind of ran around in a circle trying to keep away from the boss and the enemies. Try to keep the enemies in the middle section. Try to keep the boss jumping up and down platforms. That'll make it so he's not shooting at you. Handle the snipers first, then start taking out the ads. Once the ads are clear, then get to a safe space that is not in the back section where the cover is. I recommend not being in the back section where the cover is because that's where the ads drop down. Damage the boss, new ads will drop down. Then again, do your circles around the area. Take out some ads with some pulse grenades and whatnot. I recommend saving your super because you need all 3 supers for the final section of the boss. If this section is giving you trouble, then I recommend maybe even just using a tether. A tether is easy enough to get again, or even just not even necessary for the final fight, but it is nice to have. Again, just clear out those ads, then move on to damage the boss. Once you damage the boss enough, then you move on to the next section. Again, there will be lasers to signify that he's left. The Minotaur will come down with his Vex boys, take out the Minotaur, move on to the next section. Ignore the ads if you don't have enough points at this point. And again, you must go through this gate, this hoop in white with your teammates, otherwise it will force them to join allies and unfortunately be murdered by the boss because he will see you before you can see him. And in this fight, there's 2 basins on the left side and the right side. It's kind of just a lower ground section that I call Basin. Just kind of split up your team, maybe 2 on the left, 1 on the right, doesn't matter which. For the most part, there will not be lasers in these areas until you damage the boss enough. Handle the ads, make sure you're safe. Once you're safe from the ads or the ads are clear, then damage the boss a little bit. The best strategy in this area is to wait for the boss to drop down into your area. If he drops down into your basin, then just jump back up. He'll jump back up to the top, then just jump back down into the basin and just keep doing this for however long he does this. Every time he jumps up, he stops firing, he stops doing anything. So this is the best phase to keep him in if he just keeps jumping up and down. But for the most part, he usually just jumps down and then jumps back up, and then he gets confused and then walks to the other side. And for some reason, he always jumps down in the back, which makes this section a lot easier because again, he always stays in the back section where his ads come down, means you can always stay in the front section along the cover in the bottom basin. So again, the strategy is take out the ads. If the boss is in range without any ads near you, shoot the boss. If the boss is going to shoot you, take cover. If he drops down into your basin, jump out. If he jumps out of the basin, jump back in. And just keep doing this until the lasers show up. Now, you're going to need to train yourself on where the lasers are, but for the most part in the basin, there is a pretty safe section where the lasers don't show up, so you shouldn't be that hard. When the lasers do show up, then you're going to need to coordinate and synchronize your nuke. In this last section of the boss, in the last bar of the boss's health, you're going to have to nuke him down. With all 3 supers, send out a tether directly on the boss and then stagger your other 2 supers so he doesn't melee you both off at the same time. So send in 1 super when he melees, send in the second super and just stagger them back and forth. It's the most important thing is that you're not wasting your super by smashing the wrong spot or whatnot. So make sure you stagger them as much as you can. You should be able to survive your super if you have a full set of masterwork gear, or in general super, you're just very tough. And finally, if that's not enough to kill him, then take out your heavies and take him down or shoot him. Do everything you can. Priority number 1 is to take him down because at that point, he'll have infinite ad spawns and he will rush you down. For the most part, we didn't have a single problem with this. We always nuked him down with enough. We were on 34, 35 handicap for the most part. You should be able to take him down and nuke him without much problem. And that's pretty much it. There's not much more to that strike. The hardest part is going to be that section of the boss, as well as a couple sections in the Infinite Forest, or maybe even a section before the boss fight. But for the most part, this entire strike is not that hard. It's just kind of iffy on the way points go, and the fact that there's not a lot of goldies, which means there's not a lot of points on the table, which also means you have less heavies, which means you have less heavies to use on goldies. It's a whole cycle that kind of eats into each other. If you are looking for a Nightfall to get the most points on, or the easiest Nightfall to get the most points on, for the most part, I would say the Paramedium is going to be the easiest. It has been the easiest one and the only one that we've gotten 100,000 score on, and the other ones seem to be either too short, don't have enough goldies, or just don't offer exactly what you need, which in the Paramedium is just a butt ton of enemies. Anyways, that's going to be the video for you guys today. If you have any questions, leave a question down below in the comments. And if you did like it, leave a like. It really helps the channel out and gets this video out so other people can see it and they can do this Nightfall without as many problems. Anyways, that's the video for you guys today. Hope you guys did enjoy. My name's Nightchronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.